This is News Bits on Fusion TV. Here are the headlines. Nigeria's leader orders full-scale assault on Boko Haram. U.S. author, poet, and activist Maya Angelou dies. African Union Commission launches campaign to end child marriage in Africa. U.S. State Department warns Americans in Libya to leave the country. President Obama announces a major troop drawdown in Afghanistan. These stories and more when we return. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Hello and thanks for joining me on this edition of News Bits. I'm Nick Roberts. President Obama announced Tuesday his intention to reduce the number of troops in Afghanistan from 32,800 currently stationed there to 9,800. The remaining troops will train and support Afghan forces with their efforts against al-Qaeda. He said the number is expected to drop to half by the middle of 2015 and finally reduce to a normal embassy presence by 2016 with a security assistance office in Kabul, modeled after the plan he put in place in Iraq. A campaign to end child marriage in Africa was launched Wednesday at the African Union Commission headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The Commission chairperson, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, said in a statement that child marriage concerns human rights, gender health and culture, and is a development issue caused by a number of factors such as poverty, gender-based violence, and gender discrimination, among others. Participants at the launch, who included African ministers in charge of social development, UN agencies, civil society organizations, experts, and survivors of child marriage, were informed that if nothing was done in the next decade, the cost of inaction far outweigh the cost of interventions. It was noted that ending child marriage will require unambiguous political commitment, visionary leadership, and support for grassroots advocacy to address many of the cultural practices and behaviors that place young women and girls at increased multiple health risks. Child marriage affects millions of girls every year in Africa, and this contributes to high rates of maternal and child mortality, obstetric fistula, premature births, sexually transmitted diseases, and domestic violence. Girls continue to be married as children in Africa, and there are about 5.5 million women in their early 20s who were married before they reached their 15th birthday. Former Egyptian Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has won the presidential elections in Egypt. With most ballots counted after 3 days of voting, Sisi won 93% of the vote. Turnout was about 43% of 54 million registered Egyptian voters. Many voters stayed home because they are disillusioned with the whole process. Many Egyptians feel that Sisi did not give a clear vision in many of his speeches that he gave leading up to the elections, especially about reforming the economy. The low turnout suggests that Sisi may not have the popular mandate needed to tackle restoration in Egypt. Sisi's only rival, leftist politician Habdin Sabahi, won 3% of the votes. Sabahi conceded defeat but rejected the official turnout figures as too high, calling them an insult to the intelligence of Egyptians. The U.S. State Department has warned all Americans in Libya to leave immediately while the situation in the country remains unpredictable and unstable. Forces loyal to a former general bombed government-funded Islamist militants in the eastern city of Benghazi. General Khalifa Haftar, a former chief of army staff under Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, launched several attacks recently, accusing the government of supporting terrorism. The central government calls his assault an attempted coup and denies the claims. On Tuesday, the U.S. said it was sending a warship carrying 1,000 Marines to the region for a possible evacuation of American officials and warned U.S. citizens to exercise extreme caution and leave immediately. Libya has been in turmoil for 3 years since the fall of Gaddafi. Gunmen attacked the home of Libya's new prime minister on Tuesday. Mr. Maiteg was elected Prime Minister recently to replace Abdullah Al-Thani, who resigned in April following an attack on his family. An aide to Ahmed Maiteg said the Prime Minister and his family were in the house at the time of the attack, but escaped unharmed. Poet, author, and activist Maya Angelou has died. One of America's leading literary voices, she made her name with the 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It was the first of 7 volumes of autobiographies that chronicled her life from a childhood of abuse and oppression in the Deep South in the 1930s. In a statement, her family said she lived life as a teacher, activist, artist, and human being. She was a warrior for equality, tolerance, and peace. Maya Angelou was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the country's highest civilian honor, in 2010 by President Obama. Dr. Angelou never went to college but has more than 30 honorary degrees and taught American Studies at Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem. Dr. Angelou passed away at home in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She was aged 86. The World Health Organization says Ebola continues to spread in West Africa. The first cases of the deadly disease have been confirmed in Sierra Leone. The World Health Organization warns that the Ebola outbreak is spreading in West Africa because it is the first occurrence in the region, and people do not understand the course of the disease nor how to treat it. It was reported by health officials that relatives of some patients had taken them home, and this could promote the spread of the disease. The virus is transmitted by close contact with infected people, and this should be avoided. Meanwhile, health officials in Sierra Leone have revised their strategy for dealing with the Ebola outbreak that has left 2 people dead and made 6 others sick. Dr. Amara Janbai, the Health Ministry Disease Prevention Director, said attention is being given to response in addition to preparedness. Dr. Janbai said they are bringing in experts and soliciting support from partners who have had this experience. Medical officials in Sierra Leone said the country's confirmed and suspected cases of Ebola have been reported in a district near the Guinean border. The Ebola outbreak began in southwestern Guinea in February, and since then, the disease has killed more than 185 people in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, according to the World Health Organization. Nigeria's president said on Thursday he had ordered a full-scale operation against Boko Haram Islamist militants. In a televised speech marking Nigeria's Democracy Day, Goodluck Jonathan said he had authorized security forces to use any means necessary under the law to ensure that Boko Haram is defeated. He further said, "It is a sad fact that all the gains of the past 15 years of democratic governance in our country are threatened by the presence of international terrorism on our shores." In his speech, he assured that these thugs will be driven away, stating that it will not happen overnight, but that no effort will be spared to achieve this goal. Boko Haram has waged an increasingly bloody insurgency since 2009 to create an Islamic State in Nigeria, and on April 21st abducted more than 200 girls from a school in Chibok in the northeastern region of the country. So far, all efforts to rescue the girls have proved unsuccessful. Cameroon and Nigerian leaders are combining forces against Boko Haram. Cameroon's information minister says President Paul Biya and his Nigerian counterpart, President Goodluck Jonathan, have been communicating as part of a collaborative effort to defeat violent Islamist Boko Haram militants. Issa Chiroma says Cameroon will not allow the militants to use its territory to launch attacks on unarmed civilians in neighboring countries. He announced that there is an ongoing intelligence gathering and sharing between Cameroonian and Nigerian security agencies to defeat the extremists. Chiroma says Cameroon, together with Nigeria and other neighboring countries, are committed to combating violent terrorist activities carried out by the Boko Haram militants. The The Center for Disease Control, CDC, has reported 288 cases of measles in the first 5 months of 2014. Measles is a viral infection that is highly contagious. Measles was eliminated from the United States in the year 2000, indicating that for more than 12 months, there was no longer any continuous measles transmission. Of the 288 cases, however, 280 were thought to have been introduced from at least 18 countries. 90% of all measles cases in the U.S. occurred in people who were not vaccinated or whose vaccination status was unknown. In the U.S., the CDC recommends 2 doses of measles, mumps, and rubella, MMR, vaccine for everyone starting at age 12 months. And for those traveling abroad, the CDC recommends that babies older than 6 months receive the MMR vaccine. This is the largest number of reported cases in 20 years. A relative of the cane toad, which has devastated wildlife in Australia, has reportedly invaded Madagascar. The Asian common toad was first seen on the island in March, and there have been several sightings. In a letter to the journal Nature, researchers warn that the arrival of the amphibian could cause an ecological disaster and wreak havoc on the country's unique fauna. Cane toads, native to Central and South America, were introduced to Australia in the 1930s, initially to control pests, but they are now widespread and number in their millions. They produce toxins that are deadly to the local birds, mammals, and reptiles that prey on them. The amphibians were first seen in Tomasina, the main port of Madagascar. It is thought that they arrived in shipping containers from their native home in Southeast Asia. Scientists have advised that urgent action is needed to remove the toads before they spread. Election results in Malawi have been delayed and the trouble has spilled into the courts. The opposition Malawi Congress Party candidate Lazarus Chikwera, who was running second in preliminary results, is seeking a recount. But the Democratic Progressive Party, led by Peter Mutharika, who was leading the vote in early results, has teamed up with the Electoral Commission lawyers to prevent the 30-day extension for a recount. The Malawi Electoral Commission declared it would continue to prepare to announce the presidential results on Friday, in accordance with the law, unless the court rules otherwise. By law, the commission is obliged to release the results within 8 days of the vote, and that deadline expires midnight on Friday. Meanwhile, President Joyce Banda, who was shown to be running third, last week called the vote null and void, saying it was smeared by serious irregularities, and called for fresh elections. The African Union has concluded that voting was conducted in a largely transparent manner. The Efik community in Atlanta, Georgia, paid a courtesy visit to the Nigerian Consulate General in Atlanta in preparation for its upcoming annual fundraising convention. The convention is a 3-day event of symposiums and cultural workshops, of which the highlight is the gala where funds are raised for medical missions and support of orphanages abroad. Here are some of the highlights of the visits.
As a community, we've done a lot. We try to take care of our members, providing welfare for them. We have so many members that will have needs. They come to us, and we've done a whole lot of things for the community. We give scholarship to our members, and as we speak, a couple of us sons and daughters have graduated this year. Some are going to college, and some are getting jobs, in high places. So we are very blessed. And one of our key things that we're doing this year as the Efik community in the national level, we are planning to go to medical mission in July to Calabar. We have 40 doctors, some of them surgeons, some of them pharmaceutical practitioners, and all kinds of fields. They are going to go there for 2 weeks to administer care, to our brothers and sisters back home in Calabar.
When you give scholarship and fund education, you are sowing seed for the future. Yes. So I thank you very much for this. Every part of Nigeria is important. Whatever you contribute, even if you can't bring anything, just bring an investor to establish something in your local government.
That is true.
It's part of Nigeria.
That is true.
So that concept is very, very good, bringing medical mission, going on medical, bringing equipment and so on.
That's very true.
Taking pharmacists and other medical practitioners for the development of, yes. I see. So thank you.
Presented to Ambassador Geoffrey Tenalebe by EFIC National Association, Atlanta Chapter.
Well, that's all the news bits we have for you on this edition. Thanks for staying with us. We look forward to seeing you again next time. And in the words of the great Dr. Maya Angelou, do a good deed today. You'll be surprised at how much better you will feel. And good done anywhere is good done everywhere. Stay safe.